All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Represented Series Education Edition. Really excited to have you all here today, and always excited for my next guest, which is Nathan Moore. Nathan, welcome.
Hello, thank you. It's good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully everyone will take a moment to also check you out on our fireside chat to learn more about you as well, and all the wonderful things that you're doing within your business. But I know today you're bringing us some really amazing information, so I'm going to leave you to it to go ahead.
Great. Yeah, thank you. When deciding what to even share, there is so much information out there, phenomenal topics, great points. It was hard to really decide what would be a good topic to share today. And so what I decided to do was just take a step back. I want to do a reboot and go back to some of the fundamentals of wealth management and financial planning. Sometimes we get so far along with so many ideas that we forget the basics. So when I created this presentation, I had 3 R's in mind. And my only objective today is that you walk away with at least one of these R's. And that's one, to remind you of something you learned, a money concept that you learned, a foundational principle that you learned and maybe just forgot about it, to reinforce something that you're already learning and maybe you're just missing a couple of the details, or to reveal something new to you that you may have not heard before. There's not going to be any rocket science or groundbreaking slides I'm going to share with you today, but I want you to come into this with an open mind that you can walk away a better person financially. I have the title, Keep the Ones on the Outside, and you're probably thinking, just like I'm thinking, that is a strange title. But the reason I have that as the title is because growing up, there weren't many financial concepts that I was taught. Early on in life, the only things I was taught was, no, we can't afford it. No, we can't afford it. And growing up in a single parent household, inner city, that was understandable. So we were only left to figure out money by the things that were around us. And being born in the 70s, a product of the 80s, one of the most common games we played in the hood was we played Big Bank, Take Little Bank. And the idea behind Big Bank, Take Little Bank is you would challenge somebody with a wad of cash and saying, if your bankroll is larger than their bankroll, you get to keep all the money. So we would have like 15, 20 ones and maybe a $10 bill or a $20 bill on the outside. So we wanted them to think that we had a wad of 20s to where they would be intimidated. I remember even ironing my dollar bills so they would be crisp or look like it came straight from the bank. And the reality is nobody actually wanted to play this game. Nobody wanted to lose their money, but it was all a posturing or making it seem like you had more than what you really had. And if you think about our financial concepts today, a lot of people are in trouble for that very reason, making it seem like they have more than what they actually have, whether that's buying a bigger house than we can afford, a bigger car, taking a vacation that really is not in the budget. So the idea behind keeping the ones on the outside is simply this: don't worry about trying to impress everyone else. Focus on what your financial goals are, what you have as your financial future. Let everybody else assume you just don't have anything, and then build your wealth in silence or build your wealth confidently, knowing that you're doing it the right way with the right approach. We are in a world that's financially broken. We're seeing market fluctuations, corporate greed, bailouts, stimulus money. Employees are overworked and often underpaid. In 2019, Americans forewent $29 billion of vacation pay because they were concerned that if they would leave the job, they would be fired. Think about that. People are working without benefits. We're retiring without pensions. It's created a crisis, a financial crisis that we're living in. So we go home after work, we're tired, we're worn out, we sit down and we turn on the television and we're instantly bombarded with messages reminding us of how broke we are, or giving us images of a life that we should desire. You turn on the TV and you see Keeping Up with the Real House Cribs of the Rich and Famous, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, it's a fake title, but every show is telling us that you should desire more, you should have more. And that's not always the case. So we turn off the TV saying, yeah, I want to be a millionaire just like the rest of them. And then we go out there and we think millionaire being this big stack of cash, which will be great to have. But the reality is, for many of us, we've already had $1 million come through our hands just through our working wages. For example, if you make an average of $50,000 per year for an average of 20 years, you had $1 million come through. So you're not a vertical millionaire, you're a horizontal millionaire. And the question you should ask is, what am I doing with those millions? Well, there are forces that are up against us that are more powerful than we've ever thought. I mean, we see more than 4,000 marketing messages every single day asking us to part with our cash. There are subconscious things we see. The reason people spend millions of dollars on Super Bowl ads is to plant those seeds that we feel like we need a certain product or service. And then we look at the state of our country and we see that 50% of Americans' households are living check to check. And interesting enough, 10% of those households are making over $100,000 per year. So once again, it's not a crisis of income. It's oftentimes a crisis of expenses or luxuries or purchases. Nearly 7 in 10 Americans have less than $1,000 in savings. And what shocks me the most is that almost half of American households will need to borrow or sell something to meet a $400 emergency. So that's what we're up against. That's the stream that we're swimming uphill against the current. And the beautiful thing about it is you don't have to be pulled down with the current, but you have to be intentional and anchor your financial goals to foundational concepts and principles and not just what the world says you should be focused on. Part of that means not only looking at your money for today, but looking at your money for tomorrow and the next day and the years to come. We oftentimes hear this concept of generational wealth. And, for me, I have 3 children, I have 3 grandchildren. So I think of generational wealth and I think of passing an inheritance to my children and to my grandchildren. But the reality is, I believe generational wealth simply says, when you take your last breath on this earth, are you able to leave something for the next generation? Whether that's nieces, nephews, whether that's nonprofits you endow. It's just saying, are you living a life where there are leftovers? Now, this doesn't mean you live a life of poverty. You can still enjoy nice things and have a great life. But generational wealth says, I'm not only going to focus on today, but I'm going to focus on tomorrow. And I may make some compromises today, not buying certain things, so there is something left over for tomorrow. This is quite possibly the easiest time in history to create wealth, yet it's one of the hardest times to keep it because it's always being pulled from us. And when we think about the state of wealth in this country, there's almost $68 trillion that will exchange hands over the next 25 years from a generational wealth standpoint. But what blows my mind is that 70% of it will be lost by the second generation. 90% of it will be lost by the third generation. So what this tells me is that it's bigger than just giving the dollar to the next generation. What we're not doing and what we need to be doing is giving financial literacy, foundational concepts. When we give that dollar, we need to be giving detailed instructions how that dollar should be utilized to the next generation so that it can continue on and on and on. So that's what I want to leave you with today, is I want to leave you with this concept that we call investing in yourself. I put it into acronym form because I think sometimes it's just easier to memorize an acronym. But the idea of investing in yourself is simply this. We take the I, and the I says, take an inventory. Take an inventory of your current financial situation and your future goals. We no longer have permission just to put our head in the sand. We no longer have permission to live freely at the first of the month, knowing that we're going to be panicking at the 15th of the month. We got to sit down and say, what do we currently have and where do we want to be? As a certified financial planner, I've been leading clients on financial planning journeys for over 20 years. And I tell them every time in our very first meeting, it's this simple. You're going to tell me where you're at. You're going to tell me where you want to go. And I'm going to show you what you have to get you there. So in our inventory, we're just taking an inventory of what we have and where we want to go. This means we need to look at what assets do we have to help us accomplish our goals. Is it real estate, investments, cash, jewelry, etc.? What do we have that we can liquidate or invest to help us accomplish this goal? And then what are the anchors or the debts that may hold us back? Who do we owe and how much do we owe? And what are the terms of the debt? I'm not here to say you shouldn't have debt. What I want to make sure you have is an understanding of that debt. You could have $50,000 sitting in your checking account or savings account and be in a great cushion from a financial stability standpoint. But if you have $20,000 worth of debt and that's charging you 18% interest, you're actually going the wrong direction. So have that balance. And last thing on the inventory is make sure you're pulling a copy of your credit report every single year, going through it line by line to make sure what's being represented in there is accurate. Even if you don't plan on using credit for anything or making any major purchases, you don't want to have the surprise of something being in there that doesn't belong in there that creates a financial nightmare. One of the things I read about in recent years is that identity thieves will use your credit. They'll make payments on your credit lines for 3 months, 6 months on whatever they charge. So you don't even realize they've, stolen your identity, and then they ride off into the sunset and you get a late notice saying you have this balance that you didn't even know about. So by pulling your credit report regularly, you'll always be on top of it. I'm not going to go in too far in depth, but we talk about credit freezes and credit alerts. Those are also strategies you can use for the inventory. Now, once we're done with the I inventory, we then move on to focusing on the N, which is net worth. Net worth is simply what you own minus what you owe. Everything that's left over is your net worth. I personally feel as though your net worth is the most accurate assessment of your financial stability or of your generational wealth, because net worth says when I walk away and I don't owe anybody, this is what I have left to live. So focus on your net worth. And when I say focus on your net worth, you want to see that net worth increase. You may be at a place right now where you have a negative net worth. That's actually not that uncommon. If I go out today and I own nothing, I go out today and buy a brand new car, the second I drive it off the lot, I may have a negative net worth because it's upside down, or I bought a house that corrected. Having a negative net worth, if the number is shrinking, that's still progress. So you should be looking at your net worth on a regular basis, and the goal should be to increase your net worth. That may be increasing your investments. It may be increasing your assets. It may be reducing your debt. In my personal life and financial household, we focus more on reduction of debt to increase our net worth. We still invest and we still have assets, but my focus has been, if I can reduce all of my liabilities, it's an easier life to live. Once we looked at the net worth, then we can start looking at the V, the value. Every purchase you make should bring value to your life. Even the frivolous purchases. My wife and I, we recently subscribed to a movie theater's pass that allows us to see unlimited movies because we enjoy movies, and for date night or date day, we'll go to the movies. And that was a $21, $22 purchase, but it provides value because we're spending time together. So the simple concept here is this: before making any purchase or investment decision, ask yourself the following question. Does it add value to my life or to the lives of those around me? If it doesn't add value to my life or the lives of those around me, I need to really pause and ask myself, is this a purchase that I should make? If you remember what I said earlier, many of the purchases we make are subconscious because somebody else told us there was value there. And it's that buyer's remorse. So when you buy something and you hang it up and you never wear it again, you didn't really buy it for yourself. You bought it because you were told you have to have that latest or greatest. I think about my cell phone, and I have the model 11 of a phone that now has model 13 out. And almost every day I think, ooh, it would be nice to have that 13, but I have a phone that works perfectly great, and the 13 wouldn't add any more value to my life right now, so I haven't purchased it. So just make that simple, ask yourself that simple question: does it bring value to my life or the lives of those around me? And if the answer is yes, enjoy it. If the answer is no, then delay it. Once we've looked at the inventory, the net worth, the value proposition of every purchase, we then move on to expenses. And expenses can be the greatest enemy of your financial success and well-being. So what happens is we have these incomes that are coming in and we have these expenses that are going out, and we can afford it, so we don't think twice about it. But just because you can afford it today doesn't mean you're not robbing your financial future of unnecessary expenses. So what you want to keep an eye on is make sure that all of your expenses are appropriate and review them every 90 to 180 days. During the last couple of years of lockdown, shelter in place, and all that fun stuff, I had a chance to go from top to bottom of all of our expenses, and my cell phone carrier and my internet provider, I saved almost $150 per month calling up and just asking them to reduce my bill. These were bills that I was paying every month, never thought anything about, never questioning why I was paying as much as I was paying. And here I am, the big bad financial planner. But you know what? It was just out of sight, out of mind, automatically being drafted. And so I said, wait a minute. If I can get a lower price, why would I not ask for a lower price? So get rid of the phantom expenses. Get rid of those subscriptions that you're not using. Focus on the ones you're using. Get rid of the expenses that are just out of sight, out of mind. You're not even thinking about them. And make sure that every dollar that goes out in expense is going to something that is of true benefit to you. Once we've looked at the inventory, the net worth, the value, the expenses, we start working our way to the finish line, and that's a saving strategy. Establish a savings or investment habit that can't be broken. So what I tell people to do is, in the beginning, start with a number that you can save consistently and automatically for at least 6 months without adjusting downward. You might save this in your checking account, your savings account. You might put it in your IRA. You might put it in your brokerage account. Where you put it is not as important as creating the habit. What happens with the saving strategy is, in the beginning, it might be a stretch. If I say I want to save $200 per month, it may feel like a stretch, but then pretty soon, after about 4 to 6 months, you forget about the $200. It doesn't affect your lifestyle anymore. And then now you might be able to move it up to 300, and then 400, and then 500. I think about some of the wealthiest clients that I've had a chance to work with. They were blue collar individuals that started with putting $25 and $50 away into their retirement accounts. And after 25, 30 years of it, they're maxing these accounts out where they're now putting in $1,500 and $1,800 a month. And that $1,500 a month felt the same as the $25 did in the beginning. But because they created the habit and systematically increased it, and they were able to absorb it. So create a savings strategy and an investment habit that can't be shooken away just because there's something new that just came out, or a new product, or a trip you want to go on. Any purchase you make should be on top of your saving strategy. And then lastly, just look at your timeline and take time to accomplish these goals. Establish a realistic timeline. If you're paying off debt that was accrued over 8 years, don't expect to have it paid off in 8 weeks. It might take 8 years to pay it off. If you want to get to $1 million in savings, don't expect it to happen overnight. Set a realistic timeline and then take the time to accumulate it. There's that saying, slow and steady wins the race. What I prefer to say is easy come, easy go, hard to accumulate, hard to lose. So take the time to build up your goal, take the time to build up your savings, and do it systematically to where it just doesn't fall away at the whim or with the moment's notice. So when you take inventory of your life, you look at your net worth and make sure you monitor your net worth. You use a value screen for every purchase you make. You keep your expenses in check. Create a saving strategy that can be systematic and automatic and habitual, and create realistic timelines and take time to accomplish your goals. These are the foundational strategies that will give you the best chance to create financial freedom, and at a minimum, it will help you create financial peace because you know what you have, you know what's going on, you know where it's at, you're aware of it, and you can be confident of the position that you're in. I tell you, if there's ever any questions you have, if you would like to receive a copy of this presentation, if you would like to use any portion of it, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Here you can find us at Agape Planning Partners, 559-431-7526, or you can email me at nathan@appwealth.com. But I thank you for taking time to hear me out. Hopefully one of those 3 R's applied to you today, and you walk away with at least one money concept that you can use to change the direction of your financial life. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much, Nathan. The one thing you did remind me of, I was like, let me make sure I have this like student discount maximized for my Sprint bill. well, now T-Mobile. Hopefully they honor it as well. I was sitting here thinking, I was like, did I do that yet? I can't remember.
So, like my cell phone bill, I ended up getting an employer affiliated discount. I'm a chaplain, a volunteer chaplain, so I was able to get a law enforcement discount. And then by setting up auto pay, I was able to save $40 a month, like $10 times 4 lines, so $40 a month, just doing things that was automatic, right?
Yeah, it makes a big difference. I definitely have the auto pay set up. I was like, there's one easy thing we could do right now. I feel like that's a freebie discount. Like you just want to get it, and forget about it and keep track of it to all the points that you made. So yeah. So thank you so much for all of the great reminders of those like very subtle things that we forget to do, right? It's not always how we are just actively managing our investments. It's also just the day-to-day life hacks that we just kind of skim over or don't necessarily make time to just do and get them done.
Yeah, I always think of technology, and whenever my computer or my phone is running slower, the first thing tech support says is reboot it and refresh it. Go back to the beginning. And so that's really what I wanted to do today, is just share some tips that can help you reboot and refresh. That way, as you're taking these stock and investment tips and portfolio strategies, you can layer them on a fresh operating system rather than stacking them on something that's ready to topple over.
I love it. And, and hopefully there'll be more money to put into them, right? Like that's also the point of that reboot and that refresh. So I love that. Maybe that's even a next segue into another presentation, that reboot.
Yeah, I think so. Reboot and refresh. Let me hear if I patent it before you get it.
Oh no, go ahead, take it.
Just kidding.
Well, just make sure we get the exclusive here first.
There you go. Deal.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Nathan, for your time today. Thank you for all the gems and the reminders that you shared. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. And again, make sure that you continue to stay on top of the Represented series, whether it's our fireside chat and definitely our education edition as well. So everyone have a safe and wonderful day.
Thank you. Take care.